I got scrapings off Jim's balls. 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 I got scrapings off Jim's balls.
I probably would be more cautious about in terms of how we present it is the sphere story, for the simple fact that we just don't know yet whether it is or it isn't non-human technology.
We have new, conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology.
Frankly, whilst a lot of people want us to say, yeah, it's alien technology, we're not going to say that.
We have new, conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology. This renowned scientist confirms it all.
Whilst a lot of people want us to say, yeah, it's alien technology, we're not going to say that because that's a terrible danger.
We have new, conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology.
A lot of people want us to say, yeah, it's alien technology. We're not going to say that.
Alien technology. This renowned scientist confirms it all.
We're not going to say that.
New, conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology. This renowned scientist confirms it all.
We're not going to say that, for the simple fact that we just don't know yet whether it is or it isn't non-human technology.
And can I just say, you know, even though I'm not entirely comfortable at times with the way they sensationalize in their promos, because I thought the promos for our story were a tad over the top at times.
What you're seeing here is momentous.
You think that's alien technology?
Yes, I do.
I thought the promos for our story were a tad over the top.
We have new, conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology.
Tad over the top at times.
Is it possible to exceed the speed of light? The answer is yes.
The biggest discovery in human history.
Promos for our story were a tad over the top.
New evidence that has to be seen to be believed.
7 News Spotlight, Sunday on 7 and 7+.
Not entirely comfortable at times with the way they sensationalize in their promos, because I thought the promos for our story were a tad over the top at times.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. We are back here tonight on the eve of Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you out there. I can already smell something cooking here in the Cambian homestead. My wife is cleaning and cooking all night. I'll be pitching in to help after tonight's broadcast. Thank you all so much for being here. We are broadcasting live to 2 different Facebook locations: YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Odyssey, and Rumble. And we welcome our new friends. We welcome some of our old friends back to our Twitch channel, which is now being put back into operation. We welcome new friends at Odyssey and Rumble. They're watching the live stream. And of course, we welcome all friends and you people who have been here for quite some time on YouTube and Twitter. Tonight, I have an incredible story which centers around Garry P. Nolan, but that's not the true beginning of this story. The story truly began back in August of this year. We began our show with some absolutely ridiculous clips of Ross Coulthart. By the way, fair use, lawyer letters are standing by. We'll be critiquing those clips and using them to educate the public about what I could only call a cosmic con. Because back in August, Ross Coulthart decided that he was going to do an incredibly big bluff. Ross Coulthart, for those that don't know, is someone I would consider a less than credible, less than ethical, less than moral so-called journalist in the UFO space. And he, back in August, ran something. We ran a previous story. By the way, our previous story is in the description of the video here. Or if you're listening on the podcast, it's in the description of the podcast. We did a story after he did this called Ross Coulthart's Big Bluff. And in that story, we detailed how Ross Coulthart completely and totally lied through his teeth in a whole bunch of promotional material. And all of that promotional material was promising all kinds of things and directing people to go and consume, click on the monetized video. This is a clickbait scam, in my opinion, because Ross Coulthart used completely deceptive practices and completely deceptive editing and just straight outright lies in the promotion to this monetized video. All of the promos were promising things we heard, like, let me see here. I have the quotes here. Quote, "What you're seeing here is momentous," unquote. And then in the actual promos, what he shows is 2 balloons in the sky, one being a proven festival balloon in South America. That's what he's showing on the screen, but he's saying what you're seeing here is momentous. And then we get deceptive editing cut to a so-called witness, the guy with the ball, big metal ball, must be alien, who says, "This is alien technology." Then we have another quote from Ross Coulthart, quote, "We have new conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology. This renowned scientist confirms it all." And then we cut to Michio Kaku on the screen. This is completely and totally and provably now deceptive practices, which is against YouTube's terms of service. They could lose their entire YouTube channel for using this kind of deceptive practices to clickbait people and entice people to click on the monetized video. It's completely deceptive what they did. And of course, tonight's subject, Garry Nolan, and his inability to answer a few simple ethics questions is deeply involved in this story. Now, it is very, very interesting that today I learned some new things. And one of the things that I learned is that we can and do have an effect here. Even though we have what some would consider a small voice, our voice is growing. And I believe that the original video, which was titled, let's see, Out of This World by Ross Coulthart, and that was originally on the 7 News Spotlight. I'm talking about the clickbait piece that they produced that they were driving traffic to with complete and total deceptive practices and lies. And, you know, they were driving everyone to this video, which I'd love to play for you. It's called Out of This World by Ross Coulthart, because in that video, we don't get anything that they promised in the promos. We do not get, quote, conclusive proof of alien technology. And no renowned scientist confirms anything in the actual piece that they clickbaited. And by the way, last I recall, that piece got over 1 million monetized views on YouTube. Many have expressed to me that they consider what happened here a form of consumer fraud. I'm going to make it very clear that I'm not here to make any accusations or judge. We are just reporting the facts of what happened. And the facts of what happened are clearly established by the evidence that we have in our possession and can provide. And that is that the promos use deceptive practices, outright lies, and deceptive editing to entice people to click on the monetized video at 7 News Spotlight on YouTube. And last I checked in with it, which was right around the time of our previous broadcast, Ross Coulthart's Big Bluff, I believe that piece got over 1 million views. Now, the video apparently has been taken down. So if my memory is incorrect on the numbers, I would invite Ross Coulthart or Garry P. Nolan to correct me. How many monetized views did that piece that you used deceptive practices, deceptive editing, and outright lies in the statements in the promos, how many monetized views did you get? And a further question would be, because no one wants to answer my questions here, I ask very inconvenient questions. One of them would be, is how much money did you make from that video? 1 million monetized views is quite a lot of money on YouTube. It could be as much as $100,000. It's hard to estimate because everybody has these different values. In other words, how much you get paid for each view that has an ad playing. It's different for every channel, but we can estimate that they made, I would say somewhere, and again, I'm no expert, but I'm a YouTuber. I can, have some experience in these things. Somewhere between $50,000 and $150,000 was made from this completely clickbaited story that didn't have any of the evidence or proof. Not only did that piece not have conclusive proof of alien technology, it had no proof of alien technology. And there was a further problem is not only did the renowned scientists not confirm it all, the renowned scientists in that piece, which by the way were Michio Kaku and Garry P. Nolan, neither of those two renowned scientists confirmed anything that Ross Coulthart said in the promos, pushing people to click on the monetized video. So I believe that we can clearly establish that this was completely deceptive. And we have all of the evidence. And by the way, not only was that video, and I believe, I could be wrong or mistaken, but I really searched today on YouTube. I believe that it was originally, this piece, Out of This World by Ross Coulthart, was originally on the 7 News Spotlight YouTube channel. It's gone. It's not there. Additionally, Ross Coulthart has deleted any mention of that piece from his Twitter. Additionally, he has deleted all of those promo videos that he was using with the deceptive practices and the lies and the deceptive editing to push people to go to the YouTube video. I can't find any of that on his Twitter anymore. It's all gone. And by the way, I do want to thank one Stephen Greenstreet, because I have copies of the original promos with the deception and the lies and the outright, I believe it's outright fraud, telling people you have, quote, conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology, and then you have nothing. Or saying, quote, this renowned scientist confirms it all. You show Michio Kaku. Michio Kaku didn't confirm anything. Neither did Garry Nolan. So, but I want to thank Stephen Greenstreet because he had his own copy of the promos, and he included Gonzo flying on balloons, which makes this whole circus and carnival of UFO hucksters so much funnier. So I did take his piece. I want to thank him for not, I don't know if he could copyright claim me or whatever. But anyway, thanks to Stephen Greenstreet, because I used his version, which included Gonzo, because Ross Coulthart is the Gonzo of UFO reporting. He is a clown pretending to be a journalist here. And the fact that he wasn't fired from his job for doing this, because there seems to be some confusion here. Is 7 News Spotlight Ross Coulthart's YouTube channel? Does he get the money from the monetized views, or does it go to News 7 and then they give him a cut of it? I would ask Ross Coulthart directly, but unfortunately, Ross Coulthart, just like Garry P. Nolan, is an intellectual coward and a weakling, and blocked me on Twitter. And Ross Coulthart, I never did. I may have asked him a question on Twitter, like, where's the, quote, conclusive proof of alien technology that this renowned scientist confirms? And then he blocked me. And this is a very common tactic among these. I call them cosmic cons. They don't like it when you call them on their bull, and suddenly they block you. And here's the issue: if you're not doing anything wrong, why would and somebody asks you a question, And again, I'm not saying I can't. This is very complicated, but what I would say is, if you're not doing anything wrong, and somebody asks you a question about something, why would you block them on Twitter? Why would you refuse to answer questions? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. A reputable journalist that's doing a good job being a journalist would just, look, and the only explanation we get from Ross is that he blames News 7 for sensationalizing the promos. The promos were not sensationalized. They were lies. That's not sensationalism. That's outright lying to get people to click on something. And so the previous story led me to wonder, why is a prestigious Stanford scientist lending his credibility and that of Stanford University to someone that I would label as a UFO grifter, who is doing these deceptive things in order to make money? Why would a prestigious scientist allow himself to be used in this fashion? Because the grift does not work without those prestigious scientists. Now, I try to reach out to Michio Kaku for comment on this and have not received any reply. But I also did reach out to Garry P. Nolan and did receive a reply. And so we're going to get into what I asked him tonight, why I asked him those questions, and what he replied. And, I should mention that Garry P. Nolan, especially after seeing his reply to a few questions, this is problematic. I should also explain, so this clickbait piece with all the lies in it about definitive proof of alien technology, conclusive proof, all confirmed by this scientist, all of that happened August 23rd. On August 25th, I tweeted at Garry Nolan and I said, where is the lab reports? You and Ross Coulthart are promising everybody conclusive proof of alien technology. Are you the prestigious, are you the renowned scientist that's confirming all of this? Because there's only 2 scientists in the grift piece. And Garry P. Nolan, I wish I had screenshotted it. He said to me, I have not begun the metals analysis. So Ross Coulthart puts out all of this deceptive lies in the promos and puts out a piece where he's telling everybody, we have conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology, and this renowned scientist confirms it all. And I asked the renowned scientist, Garry Nolan, where's the conclusive proof of alien technology? Are you done? Did you do the metal samples? And what we get is Garry Nolan says, I haven't even begun it yet. This was some 8 or 9 weeks ago, right? Or more. August 25th, I believe I asked Garry Nolan on Twitter these questions. Where's the conclusive proof? And Garry Nolan chimed back that he had not even begun the metals analysis. but it would take 6 weeks, and then they would release it. And that's August 25th. You know, it's November 23rd. So people are asking, and rightly so, where is the analysis? You guys already promised everybody definitive, conclusive proof. And here's how we know that this is a UFO grift. They promised definitive, conclusive proof, testable evidence of alien technology, and this renowned scientist confirms it all. Then we asked the renowned scientist, who, by the way, is doing the materials analysis, and he says, I haven't even started it yet, after the piece had already aired. So how are they promising proof before the analysis even begins? But that's what they did. And I believe that Garry P. Nolan is whoring Stanford University's reputation and equipment and everything else to help make these UFO grifts work. And we have seen that he has done this before with Stephen Greer. So this is a pattern now. If you have a UFO story, and by the way, this is all my opinion, and I'm entitled to an opinion based on the available evidence and the fact that he won't answer questions. If you are running a UFO grift and you need a renowned scientist, a prestigious scientist at a prestigious university to help you make the grift work, apparently Garry P. Nolan is the guy you got to go to, because Stephen Greer did this with the Atacama humanoid as well. And here is where things are going to get very problematic for one Garry Nolan. Let's get into the questions that I asked him, and we will understand more fully. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger, friends. I have to apologize. I'm most of you know I'm visually impaired. So, all right. You know what? That's even too big. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm sharing with you all the email that I sent Garry Nolan, and this revolves around ethics questions, because I happen to remember that I worked at a university and I was not allowed to use the university's name, equipment, or anything else in what you would call moonlighting or extracurricular activities. In other words, while I'm working at Drexel University, I'm not allowed to use Drexel University lab equipment or computer systems or anything like that for something else that I'm being paid for. And this, of course, is very common. And I remembered that. And so the thought occurred to me, where is this analysis being done? Oh, it's being done at Stanford University. Whose lab equipment is being used to help sell this UFO grift? Oh, it's Stanford University's lab. It's Stanford University's equipment and machinery that is going to do the analysis on these metals. And there's a huge problem with this, because according to the Stanford Code of Ethics, he's not supposed to use any of that stuff for these kind of projects, as I read it. So, but I didn't want to be wrong in my assessment. And so actually, you know what? First, we're going to share this, and this is this is from the Stanford Office of Ethics and Compliance, and this is their ethics code, and this is the rules that Stanford professors and employees have to abide by while working at Stanford University. And this is why I had questions, because we're going to read this. And again, this is from Stanford University, where Garry Nolan works. This is in their code of ethics. Use of university resources. University resources must be reserved for business purposes on behalf of the university. They may not be used for personal gain. So if Garry Nolan is getting paid for anything in UFO land and he's using university equipment, that's a problem. So they may not be used for personal gain and may not be used for personal use, except in a matter that is incidental. And we're going to get into, I had to look this word up, incidental, because I wanted to be sure, because this is kind of legalese, but incidental is accompanying, but not a major part of something. Well, the problem here is that the UFO grifts, both of them, that I believe Garry Nolan was directly involved in, both the Atacama humanoid and this recent Ross Coulthart's big bluff of conclusive proof of alien technology, those things wouldn't have worked at all without his full participation in them. You couldn't have done either documentary project without Garry Nolan there to do the analysis. So one can argue over that, but that's why I asked Garry Nolan directly. Okay, so except in a matter that is incidental and reasonable in light of the employee's duties. Now, here's the problem. Reasonable in light of the employee's duties. Garry Nolan is in charge of whole labs at Stanford University. And I think he is the boss of something like 50 other scientists. So again, one could argue, is his use of that equipment reasonable in light of the employee's duties? I would think that Garry Nolan has better things to do, being in charge of 50 people and huge labs at Stanford University and doing all this real credible research. I would think he has better things to do than to play alien scientists on the internet. But here we are. And then it goes on to say, university resources include, but are not limited to, university systems, that is, telephone systems, data communication, and networking services. The Stanford domain for electronic communication forums. Stanford name, logo, and letterhead. The Stanford name and using like the Stanford University labs as a backdrop to this UFO grift were all over Ross Coulthart's piece. They named him. You know, they said that the analysis would be conducted at Stanford University. They're using the name. University equipment, that is computers and peripherals, university vehicles. Well, I believe university equipment would include the lab equipment that was probably, not probably, we know now, it was used in the analysis of the Atacama humanoid, Atacama mummy with Dr. Stephen Greer. And it is being used, the university equipment is 100% being used in the analysis of the ball shavings from Ross Coulthart. So is that a problem? Stanford facilities, they filmed in Stanford facilities, and that helped sell the grift. You look at this. We're in a Stanford University lab here. This is so prestigious. And I believe that they used the reputation of Stanford to help sell this story. That was completely and totally, provably a lie. Procurement tools such as purchasing card, travel cards, and petty cash. Well, we can skip that one. Don't think that Garry Nolan used any of that, but he certainly used Stanford facilities. He certainly used Stanford University equipment, and Ross and him certainly used the Stanford name, and I don't know about the logo or the letterhead, but okay. University records, including student, employee, donor, sponsor, and patient records. Well, we could skip that. I don't believe that one's relevant, but this one's very relevant because we got him on this one. The time and effort of staff, students, and others at Stanford. So I wondered, was Garry Nolan using university equipment, university facilities, university labs, and university personnel to conduct these so-called analysis of alien materials for both Stephen Greer. By the way, Stephen Greer's documentary made millions of dollars, and for Ross Coulthart with the ball shavings. So I reached out to Garry Nolan. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, but as I read this, he's in violation of the ethics, the code of ethics at Stanford University. He's not allowed to use those things for his own personal gain or profit, which raises the most important question. How much was Garry Nolan paid, both by Dr. Stephen Greer to participate in that documentary and by Ross Coulthart to participate in his documentary? How much was he paid for his participation in those projects and his analysis work, which we can prove he used university equipment, personnel, resources, and labs? So I wanted to ask Garry Nolan, how much were you paid, and did you use university equipment? Did you use university personnel? And so we'll share what I sent him, and what he sent me back was pretty snarky. And by the way, he reminded me of some of the university professors at the university I worked at, because these guys that are high up on the academia, professors, right? They are always like this. Garry Nolan, and some of us have experienced this firsthand. You can't ask this guy a question. He calls you a dummy and blocks you on Twitter. And he's running around making ridiculous claims constantly. You know, he's seeing aliens and all kinds of stuff, but don't ask him a question. He'll block you. They all have this, at least this is my personal experience, but they all have this arrogance and look down on us normal people. You know, these big brain professors, and you give them a little bit of authority and you give them some resources. Look, this guy's in charge of a lab. There was one guy at Drexel University I wanted to murder, but that's a story for another time. I'm just commenting on the fact that Garry Nolan seemed to me to be one of those people. He's above you, you know. You're like an ant to him, you little brained, you know, normie. I'm a big shot university professor who, by the way, is literally participating in UFO grifts. You know, so I'm sorry, but you don't have the kind of credibility that a real university professor that's credible has when you're running around talking about seeing aliens. And, you know, anyway, he replied to me, but, you know, again, he didn't appear to like my questions. Let me see if we can find this here. All right. So here were my questions. I say, hello, I'm doing a follow-up story about Ross Coulthart promising everyone definitive proof of alien technology in his promos for a monetized video. You participated in that PC ran. Don't you think it might have been a good idea to stand up and let everyone know you had not even begun any analysis work at the time Ross Coulthart's promos were promising that definitive proof of alien technology? It's important to know that if I did not ask Garry Nolan on Twitter and him answer me, no one would have known that at the time of the broadcast of this monetized clickbait UFO grift that they did together, no one would have known that the analysis didn't even start when they ran the piece promising, and by the way, I got my own quote wrong. It's conclusive proof of alien technology, not definitive proof. So I apologize to Garry Nolan and all of you. I should get my own quote. You know, I should have quoted that correct. I went on to ask him, you may recall, you blocked me on Twitter after answering a question I asked about the metal shavings analysis. I asked you about 8 weeks ago, and actually I'm wrong about that too. It was August 25th. Where the analysis was, you said you had not begun the analysis yet, but it would be done in 6 weeks. That was August 25th. Is the analysis now complete? Let me guess, nothing alien. Can I have a copy of your analysis report? Then I go on to ask, how much money were you paid to either participate in Ross's big bluff promising everyone he had, and I meant to say conclusive proof of alien technology, I said definitive, in his promos, or do the analysis work? So I think that this is a very fair question. How much money were you paid to participate in Ross's project? Did you use university equipment and resources to perform this analysis? And if so, isn't that a conflict of interest or against the Stanford Code of Ethics? And then I gave him the link to the Stanford Code of Ethics concerning use of university resources. I asked, whose lab equipment did you use to perform the metal shavings analysis? But we know now that he did use Stanford University lab equipment to perform the metal shavings analysis, or at least he said he planned to in Ross's clickbait garbage disinformation piece. Finally, when you did the analysis work for Dr. Stephen Greer, how much were you paid for your participation in that documentary? Or how much were you paid to do the analysis? And did you use university labs, personnel, or equipment to do that work as well? My previous story on Ross Coulthart's big bluff here. And then I PS'd him. I said, I'm sorry, I also forgot to ask for the names of the CIA agents who asked you to do analysis work. Whose labs equipment did you use for that work? And, oh, wait a minute. This isn't. I'd like to call these CIA people and confirm your claims and get copies of those reports. So Garry Nolan writes me back dear Mr. Cambion, I don't understand why you think, given your unnecessarily aggressive stance, that I should help you foment more conspiracy theories around me. I do wish you the very best of luck in your endeavors. Best, Garry P. Nolan, PhD. Great. And you know, this is very problematic, because if he's worried about conspiracy theories around him, why not just answer the questions? Did you get paid for those 2 projects, and did you use university equipment? And then I don't know why, but he sent me another message sometime after the first one, like he wanted to insult me one more time, right? Or tell me I'm blocked again. You've already blocked me on Twitter for asking a very valid question. Where's the materials analysis from the Ross Coulthart piece from August 23rd? You guys promised us conclusive proof of alien technology confirmed by renowned scientists. You were the renowned scientist doing the analysis. I think these are valid questions. And the fact that these people won't answer very valid questions, I'm not the one that's running around promising people conclusive proof of alien technology. You and Ross Coulthart did that. And when you do something like that, people are going to have questions. He says, hello back. The multiple premises you make throughout even these questions below are so faulty that they merit no answer. I wish you the best in your endeavors. From here, you will get no more replies from me. Best, Garry P. Nolan. And I wrote him back, even though apparently I'm blocked on email from him now, as well as Twitter, because apparently Dr. Garry P. Nolan, for all of the letters behind his name, is an intellectual weakling and cannot withstand a few questions about his claims and about his activities participating in what can only be described as UFO cons, scams, or grifts. Dr. Nolan, I don't think I was aggressive. I'm just asking questions here. Sorry if you didn't like my questions. And I left him with a quote. You guys hear me say this a lot. The only people who fear questions are people with something to hide. Best regards, Stephen Cambion. So this is where it gets problematic, because where does the story go from here? Do I contact the university? Because now, thanks to Garry Nolan being, you know, I'm going to be very honest. I'm always honest with my audience, but I'm going to be very honest here. Garry Nolan's refusal to answer a few simple questions, it pissed me off. I'm human. Here's this high and mighty professor that's participating in what some people have described as consumer fraud, right? It was so bad, they had to take the video down, apparently. It was so bad, Ross Coulthart had to remove any reference to it from his Twitter. Ross Coulthart had to remove all references to the promos. He took all the promos off of his Twitter that he had previously tweeted. He took all of the tweets to the piece down, right? Now, because I got pissed off, sometimes anger is a good thing. Justifiable anger is a wonderful thing, because through justifiable anger, you can use that. A much wiser man than me, you know, when I got this message, I thought, well, I'm dead in the water if he won't answer any questions. But then I thought, no, I could call the university and say, he won't answer these questions. Can you answer these questions? But let me be very clear in that I do respect this man for his valid contribution to science. After all, I have family members that died of cancer, and he's studying cancer. So it's not my intention here to ridicule, defame, you know, or otherwise negatively affect this man. So I'm not going to call the university yet. I may still. What I decided to do, and again, a wiser man than me once taught me, to let adversity fuel your fire. This is a big roadblock. What are we supposed to do now with this story? There's no story. He won't answer the question. I got to find confirmation that he used university equipment, resources, labs, and personnel. So because he pissed me off, I spent all day watching his interviews, and I got it. I got the proof, Garry Nolan. Thank you for pissing me off. Thank you for being an intellectual weakling who is okay with making absolutely out there ridiculous claims, but then you get offended somehow when somebody asks you questions about it. You're the one apparently running around playing alien scientist in your spare time, making ridiculous claims and literally helping UFO grifters grift for money. And here's another issue to consider. Perhaps Garry P. Nolan is he just believes this stuff, and he has confirmation bias. And because of that, he is often involving himself with, let's just say, less than credible people like Stephen Greer, like Emery Smith. Did you know Emery Smith was fully involved with Garry Nolan? Great. The guy who got caught running a PayPal donation scam with David Wilcock, claiming that, the Men in Black. We did a story on that too. But back to Garry Nolan. So I went hunting, and I'm able to find, we're going to put our fair use banner up. I'm playing a portion of that video in which they show that Ross Coulthart goes to Stanford University and shows that Garry Nolan's going to use the lab and a machine in the lab that is owned by Stanford University to do the metal analysis. So luckily for me, Garry Nolan, though he wouldn't answer my questions, I had that sudden light bulb go off. Wait a minute. He probably I think he did answer my questions, at least some of them already in previous interviews. So I listened to 15 hours of Garry Nolan interviews, so you don't have to. And we can just bring you the good stuff. Great. 1 second here. One second. Let's see if this is going to work. Yes, it is. Okay, friends. So this is from Ross Coulthart's piece, which he removed from his YouTube channel after, I believe he removed it, after our reporting of how deceptive the promos were, how they lied through their teeth to get people to click on this. But for our purposes, I'm using it to display that there is available proof that Garry Nolan did indeed use university labs equipment. And in the next proof, I'll show he used university personnel as well to participate in these activities with Dr. Stephen Greer and with Ross Coulthart. Scrapings off Jim's balls. Great. A prestigious Stanford University professor saying that somebody has an alien scout vehicle sitting in their house with no evidence of that, no proof of that, and he did not even begin his analysis. And it's important to note that at the time that this broadcast, August 23rd, he said it would take him a month. A few days later, I asked him on Twitter where the analysis was, and he said he hadn't begun it yet, and it would be done in 6 weeks. that would have put it somewhere around September. It should have been finished, right? It's November 23rd. One moment. Oh, no audio. I don't know why that is. All right. Well, all right. In the piece, I apologize. Thanks for somebody who called me. No sound on the video. I don't know why that is. That's why we don't usually use a media player here. We play usually from cloud. So I apologize. In the piece, which we just played, you know what? It's probably better I didn't play audio because I don't know that any of that music is not copyrighted. In the piece, Ross Coulthart walks into Stanford University. Garry Nolan explains they're in Stanford University, and here's this machine called the MIDI, a mass spectrometer machine that he's going to use to do the metals analysis. Then he says that the analysis is going to be done in 4 weeks. We've never gotten the metals analysis. It's never been delivered by Garry Nolan. And again, we get those statements that they're promising, quote, conclusive proof of alien technology before Garry Nolan even began any analysis whatsoever. It's a bait and switch. It's an overpromise, underdeliver. How are you promising people conclusive proof of alien technology, all confirmed by this renowned scientist, when that renowned scientist said on Twitter 2 days after this piece aired, he hasn't begun. He hasn't even begun the analysis work yet. All right, and I'm going to share something else from my Twitter because people all over Twitter are asking him, where's Jim's balls metal analysis? Where's this ball shavings? Ross Coulthart got shavings off Jim's ball. Sorry. Couldn't help it. And Garry Nolan's supposed to provide the materials analysis using the point of me playing that piece is to confirm that even in the piece, Garry Nolan confirms that he's using university labs and very, very expensive machinery in Stanford University to do the analysis. So then let me share my screen here. 1 second. We're going to go over to Twitter I have, and I want to this is a screenshot. Matthew Grutchow asked, speaking of knowing things, this is September 21st. He was asked, where's the metal analysis? Speaking of knowing things, any progress, anticipated release date on your findings on Ross Coulthart's mysterious metal ball? Garry P. Nolan chimes back, no. My mainstream job in the fall is lecture circuit, travel, grant writing, getting students ready for PhD thesis talks in early 2023, working with postdocs to prepare them for faculty jobs, editing, writing papers, grants. What else? Oh, it's my turn to rake the leaves. So what we get, and I've seen multiple examples of this, is every time somebody asks Garry P. Nolan where the analysis was, and again, it's very important to point out that they've already promised conclusive proof of alien technology confirmed by this renowned scientist. And every time somebody asks him, where's the analysis, where's the proof, he makes excuses, right? And I don't think that this is acceptable from an ethics or morality or maybe even a legal standpoint. He participated in this project, which was promising everyone conclusive proof of alien technology, all confirmed by him, this man. That was August 23rd. Where is the proof? Where is the analysis? And again, somebody like me asks him he said I was too aggressive. You know, how nice do you want me to ask you if you were using university equipment and university personnel, and how much were you paid? You know, I mean, it's a very simple question. Were you paid, and did you use the university equipment? And by the way, I think in the back of my mind, I already knew that he had used university labs, personnel, and equipment. You ever have one of those moments where you know something, but you don't remember from where you know it? So when I asked him these questions, I had not yet gone through all the interviews, but I just knew it in my bones. I remembered, I think, seeing that he had said, oh yeah, we use students, or oh yeah, you know, other people work in my labs, do the actual work. I don't do it. I'm too important. And in Ross Coulthart's piece, we get confirmation that he indeed is using their labs, their equipment, and their machinery and probably their computers to do this analysis work for what it can only be described again as a UFO grift, an alien grift. All right, and now we're going to get into further proof that Garry Nolan, and maybe now we can shed some light on why Garry Nolan did not want to answer my very simple and direct questions and decided I was too aggressive. Again, according to let me share this. We're going to share this again just for clarity's sake, and that is Stanford University's statement in their code of ethics on the use of university resources. University resources must be reserved for business purposes on behalf of the university. They may not be used for personal gain. And so included in that is university equipment. Now we've established with his own words and with their own video that they produced that he is indeed using university equipment in the form of computers, peripherals, machinery, lab equipment, whatever. Now, there is also a problem here, according to the Code of Ethics. He's not allowed to use the time and effort of staff, students, and others at Stanford. So now I will share my screen once again. We will cite fair use. This is a transformative work. I am educating the public. This is a transformative work. I'm educating the public about Stanford professor Garry P. Nolan's participation in these so-called documentary projects about alien visitation on Earth and UFOs. And all right, so this is from Lex Fridman, who I know is a supporter of free speech and freedom of expression and fair use, but we're still going to cite fair use. This is an interview that Garry P. Nolan conducted with Lex Fridman, and he in this talks about the analysis of the Atacama humanoid. I keep calling it the Atacama humanoid. The Atacama mummy. You remember the dead baby that Stephen Greer used to grift to the tune of millions of dollars. And it's also important to note that in the original, I got to come up with better terminology. In the Stephen Greer documentary, they used the same tactics. Put out the documentary, get all the money, and then deal with the consequences, right? In the Stephen Greer serious documentary, Stephen Greer hyped up that dead baby, the little mummy, as alien forever, for a long, long time. Then he produces a documentary, and he's going to give us the proof that that thing's an alien. Who's going to bring us the proof? Garry P. Nolan, prestigious, renowned Stanford University professor. And by the way, Garry P. Nolan is neither a geneticist nor a materials scientist. He's an immunologist. So this doesn't even make sense. And it's more proof of why I believe they are using Garry Nolan and the reputation of Stanford University being so prestigious to sell UFO lies, alien lies to people. Because if you really were serious about getting to the truth and you had an unknown biological entity, you wouldn't take it to an immunologist for analysis. You would take it to medical doctors, and you would take it to a DNA specialist to do the DNA analysis. No, they take it to an immunologist. And again, if you had metal of unknown origins and you were really serious about getting to the truth of it, you wouldn't take it to an immunologist. You would take it to a materials scientist, somebody, or a chemist, somebody who deals with elements, right? But no, they take it to this guy. And I believe they take it to this guy because this guy will essentially whore out his university so that the grift works. So we've cited fair use. We're going to be critiquing the video that we're sharing, and we're also using it to provide evidence that Dr. Garry Nolan, indeed, when analyzing the Atacama human, I almost said it again, Atacama skeleton mummy, when analyzing that, he used university equipment and university personnel. Wait a minute. Let me do that one more time and make sure I have the sound. Maybe that was the problem last time. I apologize for that. All right, we got it now, friends.
Stephen Greer claimed that a skeleton discovered in Atacama region of Chile might be an alien. You reached out to him and took on the task of proving or disproving that with the rigor of science. The result is a paper titled Whole Genome Sequencing of Atacama Skeleton Shows Novel Mutations Linked with Dysplasia. Can you tell this full story?
The story was, as you put it right there, correct. Reached out, got a sample of the body, did the DNA.
By the way, I just wanted to interject that for those familiar with UFO land, do you know who took the samples from the skeleton? It wasn't Stephen Greer, and it wasn't Garry Nolan. The person who did a lot of work, apparently, on the Atacama skeleton was one Emery Smith of Gaia TV fame. You know, the guy that was running around telling women that he was going on secret missions to Antarctica while he was drinking himself into a coma every day, living with a separate woman. You know, that guy that got caught running PayPal donation scams, claiming that he was under attack by the men in black when in fact he was in the hospital for alcohol poisoning. That guy, that's the guy, Emery Smith, who took the samples that were then sent to one Garry Nolan. I just think that's important because it clearly establishes that Garry Nolan is running around with proven, I can only say proven UFO con artists. And that's problematic for a renowned Stanford University professor.
Sequencing, then worked with a team of two other Stanford scientists and Roche sequencing group, Roche Diagnostics.
He worked with a team of two other Stanford University scientists. That would seem to indicate that he was using Stanford University personnel in this project. And again, I reached out to him and asked him how much was he paid for his participation in the documentary, or how much was he paid for his analysis work, and he refused to answer.
And probably a total team of about 11 or so people.
11 people. A team of 11 people. That doesn't sound incidental to me. Does it sound incidental to you? The code of conduct for Stanford says that he cannot, we're not even going to get into the code of conduct, but it says incidental. If you're working with a team of 11 people on a project, that's a big project. And that might take you away from your, assigned responsibilities at the university, that thing that they're paying you for. So I don't understand how any of this is okay. I don't get it. Just imagine if you had a job that you were being paid to do and you just ignored your job for a month to go do an alien project, right? Would you get fired? I would. You probably would. The different rules must apply to academia, and different rules must apply to one Dr. Garry Nolan.
And as is standard in these kinds of things, the professors actually don't do the work. The students do the work. And
the students do the work. So he used university students to do this project. And again, in the use of university resources in the Stanford Code of Ethics, it says that you cannot use the time and effort of staff, students, and others at Stanford. And again, but this hinges on, did he personally profit from this? That's why I asked the question. For all I know, he didn't get paid a dime to do all this, and he did it as a volunteer. In which case, why doesn't he just answer the question? No, I didn't get paid anything for this. Everybody volunteered. 11 people volunteered to help. The students volunteered to help. But if he got paid for his participation in Dr. Stephen Greer's film, then this would appear to be in direct violation. Everything that's happening here would appear to be in direct violation of Stanford University's Code of Ethics surrounding the use of university resources. And, I think that those are good rules and they should be in place to prevent people from exploiting university resources for personal gain. And again, I asked him for comment I asked him these questions. He doesn't want to answer me, but his own words betray him. And we now know that one of my major questions, did he use university labs, equipment, and personnel in this, in the participation of these projects? The answer is yes. He said it himself. He's using university equipment. He's using university students, other university scientists to perform this analysis.
And figured out the answer. And then we helped them put together the story. And the story was simply that it was human, 100%. I went into it thinking it was originally a monkey of some sort.
I never heard him. He may have said that publicly, but I never heard him say that it was a monkey. In fact, he seemed to be all chips in that it was an alien with Dr. Stephen Greer in the lead up to the film being released. And isn't it a little coincidental or funny that they couldn't wait a few weeks, a month to get the results before they released the film? It appeared to me that in my opinion, they hurried and rushed the film to make the money before the analysis came back and said it's just a human. Because if you make that whole documentary and the lab results just say it's a deformed human fetus or deformed human baby, there's no story. There's no millions of dollars to be made. So in my opinion, Dr. Stephen Greer rushed the film to release and didn't wait. Why would you not wait a few weeks for the analysis work to be complete? And why would a prestigious Stanford University professor even participate in something like that, which essentially hyped up and defrauded the public for what turned out to be a normal, well, it wasn't normal, it was deformed, but turned out to be completely human, nothing alien about it. It's very shady, in my opinion.
I got kind of excited a few months into the process thinking, well, what happens if it is an alien?
Yeah.
Right.
Can you describe some of the characteristics of the skeleton that make it unique and interesting?
Primarily, it had dysmorphias of the brain. And so the first thing I did actually when I got pictures of it, I took it to a local expert at Stanford. And
again, he's using university personnel for what can probably be described as a personal project. So the question of whether he was paid for this participation in this documentary becomes even more important. We have him using multiple scientists, students, university equipment, lab equipment, and resources to do this analysis for Dr. Stephen Greer, who many might describe as a UFO con artist or an alien con artist.
And he was on the paper. And he was the world expert in pediatric bone dysmorphias. He literally wrote the book and on this, because that's what you do. You go to an expert when it's outside of your field of interest. And he said, well, I haven't seen this particular collection of mutations before, or this physiology before, but here's what I think it might be. And he said, but based on the size of the thing and the bone density, it would appear to be like 6 or 7 years old. Now,
yeah, and in the film they hyped that up. Oh, this thing was 6 or 7 years old, and it was walking around. It was alive. It wasn't a fetus. And now we see the big letdown, because that certainly what they hyped up in the film as 100% factual and true and provable turned out not to be.
Again, that's the thing where I think the lay public doesn't understand or takes a speculation like that and turns it into a fact.
Why then did Dr. Nolan not insist that he be able to say that right there in the film, right? And it's been a while since I've seen that film, but they hyped up the fact that experts said that it was probably 6 or 7 years old somehow. They did not. This is just shady.
No one ever said that it was that age. We only said that the bones made it look like it was that.
Now he's going to throw Stephen Greer under the bus for hyping up these claims as true and factual. Blame Stephen Greer when all else fails.
Age. But then we went back and looked for genetic explanations of why things might look the way they did. And if you, again, read the paper, is very carefully caveated to say that these mutations might result in this. But what we did find was an unexpectedly large number of mutations associated with bone growth in this individual. And it was just a bad roll of the dice, right? You roll the dice enough times with enough people born every year, and someone will roll the wrong dice all at once. So the sad part about it was individuals in the UFO community who wanted to think that there was some sort of conspiracy around it, right? That somebody had somehow convinced all of my students to lie.
Right.
I mean, come on. You know, I would lose my job, first of all, and they would all be, in trouble forever.
Yeah, but also it's just projecting malevolence onto people that I don't think exists in normal populace, and especially doesn't exist in the scientific community.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Dr. Stephen Greer, after the analysis dropped, and he had made all of his money, you would think, well, I made millions of dollars. Who cares if it's real or not? Just, no, Dr. Stephen Greer doubled and tripled down, blamed Dr. Nolan, and claimed some vast CIA conspiracy had happened where Dr. Nolan received funding from the CIA and then lied about the results. But it is interesting that Garry Nolan was all chips in on this thing, possibly being alien, all throughout the film, right? The film gets released, and then suddenly the results of the analysis come out a very, very short time later, proving that it's nothing but human. But the important part for our discussion tonight is this. We can now prove by his own statements that Dr. Garry Nolan used university equipment, labs, personnel, and students in the performance of this project. In the analysis work, he used university facilities to film inside of for both projects and more. So I am left with the final and most important question, which is how much money, how much compensation did Dr. Garry Nolan receive from these two separate projects? Now, it may well be that he didn't receive any compensation, and therefore it may not be a breach of the ethics standards at Stanford University. But even if he wasn't paid, ask yourself this: if you were his boss or a faculty member at Stanford University, would you want him using so much lab equipment and so much resources and personnel and the time of people, the time of other scientists at your university, the time of the students to participate in what many would describe as a UFO or alien scam? And now we see that this has happened not once, but twice at least, that he has used the university's name to help sell a documentary project. He has provably used their labs, their equipment, probably their computers, and their personnel to participate in these projects that many people would say are scams. I am left with more questions than answers. And like I said, the final question that I really have is how much was he compensated by either Dr. Stephen Greer or by Ross Coulthart? Because if he got anything, any monetary compensation or any compensation whatsoever, this could be extremely problematic for him. And if nothing else, it may be more difficult. One of the thoughts that I had is that he's just naive and he's a super believer. He wants to help these UFO grifters if they really have something alien. And hey, if that's the case, I can't blame him for that, right? The relentless pursuit of the truth about aliens and UFOs. I know a thing or two about that. And I have to be honest in saying that if I was in the same position that he is and I had access to the labs and stuff that I could prove if this is alien or not, I might go ahead and use those. The problem really becomes whether he's compensated for these projects. And what I can tell you is that I am aware of many scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson and like Michio Kaku that will participate in documentary films, but they're always paid. Always. They get paid to participate in these documentary projects. So one has to ask themselves, what is the likelihood that Garry Nolan is one of the scientists that isn't paid for his participation? Did Ross Coulthart do a piece and pay Michio Kaku, but not pay Garry Nolan to participate in that project? Did Stephen Greer pay everybody involved in that documentary, which, by the way, netted millions of dollars, and not pay Garry Nolan anything? I'm sorry, maybe I am a bit too cynical and skeptical, but I believe that he was paid for his participation in both projects. People don't work for free. Generally, they don't. So I'm left with the final question, how much was he compensated, either from Dr. Stephen Greer or from Ross Coulthart? Unfortunately, I'm blocked by Ross Coulthart, but I am reaching out to News 7, who may be the executive producers or putting up the money to produce these clickbait pieces with Ross Coulthart. By the way, News 7 is a garbage rag of a news outlet, akin to the National Enquirer. And they put out clickbait garbage, fake information about aliens and UFOs. And we know that by who they employ, because they use American UFO celebrities. And it's people that I have zero respect for. People like Jeremy Corbell. I'm pretty sure they're paying Corbell. He's not doing that for free. And interestingly, I also found out that News 7 also used one Ryan Sprague, who recently said that he has no connection to all of this, to Ross Coulthart or Garry Nolan. Well, apparently you're one of the people, Ryan Sprague, that is being used by News 7 to sell UFO stories, just like Garry Nolan is perhaps being used by News 7 and Ross Coulthart to sell UFO stories. So you do have a connection. And the other connection Ryan Sprague has, by the way, I don't know when it is, but Chrissy Newton, who is Ryan Sprague's, let me look her up, see if she's blocked me yet. Ryan Sprague blocked me on Twitter because I was mistaken. And I was mistaken because I thought that his co-host and him were yeah, looks doesn't look good. It appears that yeah, so I was under the mistaken somebody in our show here told me that Garry Nolan was going to be interviewed by Chrissy Newton and Ryan Sprague. So I did send him a message saying, you have to ask him about this stuff and where the analysis is. You're not going to just do the circle jerk again. For those unaware, what's the circle jerk? It's when bottom feeders that can't produce any content on their own use popular UFO celebrities to get views, to get clicks and views, right? And yeah, so interestingly, I'm looking at Chrissy Newton's thing here. Okay, yeah. So let me share this. We'll share this. So, though I ask a valid question, and one can ask themselves, honestly, ask yourself, am I asking ridiculous questions here, or do I have a valid reason to ask these questions to Garry Nolan about? I asked him about the metal analysis. He answered, but then he blocked me. So Chrissy Newton, who is Ryan Sprague's sometimes co-host on his show, is interviewing. Next guest featured on the show will be Garry P. Nolan. Drop your questions below. And of course, I said, I hope you're going to ask him about this scam. He didn't even begin any analysis, and he said nothing while Ross Coulthart was lying to everyone to get more monetized views. And I was under the mistaken belief that she was referencing Garry Nolan being interviewed on the show with Ryan Sprague, and then I sent him a message, and he got nasty. He said I threatened him or something. No. And by the way, Ryan Sprague is like living in Scotland or something, right? Spoiled rich kid, former playwright, I think, right? Anyway, why would I threaten some guy living in Scotland? No, what my point was is that if Ryan Sprague and Chrissy Newton are going to interview Garry P. Nolan, they should ask him some real questions like I did. They should ask him about these ethics problems. They should ask him, is it okay with the university? Does the university know that you're using all of their resources to help UFO grifters? And what were you compensated to help those UFO grifters sell these now provably fake stories? Both of those stories he was involved in could be argued are now proven 100% fake. At the very least, Ross Coulthart's story with him is provably fake. They promised definitive, I always mess this up, conclusive. They promised conclusive proof of alien technology before they even began any analysis. That's a fake story. That's clickbait garbage. And some would consider that a form of consumer fraud. And it is 100% provably against YouTube's terms of service to do that, which may have which may be the reason why, in my opinion, I mean, I can't find it anywhere on YouTube. Ross Coulthart, News 7, pulled that piece off of YouTube. I think our reporting made them aware that they could lose their entire YouTube channel for using deceptive practices to get people to click on it when they're lying in all of the promos, literally lying to everyone. So I don't care who gets the truth. I just want to get to it. So my challenge for Chrissy Newton, if you're still going to interview Garry Nolan, by the way, he may pull out now. Boy, that sounded bad. I was thinking he may pull out of Chrissy Newton. He may pull out of the interview. And so my challenge, though, to Chrissy Newton or Debrief Media is to ask him these important questions. Give him a forum to address the questions that I've asked that he has refused to answer. Tonight, we have clearly established that he has used university equipment, university personnel, university resources, university facilities, and the name Stanford University. I believe that he may be, using the university for personal gain. I believe that he was paid. I don't have evidence to support that he was paid for either of these projects. It's just my gut feeling and personal belief that he wouldn't do all of that and help them so much without compensation. So my challenge to Chrissy Newton is ask him the real questions. And I did send her a message. And by the way, I will apologize for if anyone had the impression that I was too aggressive with messages that I send them, then I apologize. And it wasn't my intention. I am simply frustrated and honestly, I'm angry that I ask a real question to Garry Nolan on Twitter and I get blocked. No offense, but Ryan Sprague does the softball game. He's not going to ask those hard questions. So I thought Chrissy Newton and Ryan Sprague got the interview. I sent Ryan Sprague a message saying, no more circle jerks, dude. And by the way, I can display to you why I was so angry. I asked James Fox for an interview 5 times on the heels of the release of his latest movie, which I believe is a big money grab with no additional proof in 26 years. But okay. I got blocked by James Fox for just asking a question. I asked, is it ethical or moral to be talking about all of these? For those unaware, James Fox movie came out about the Varginha incident, and suddenly all of these videos started appearing online with people claiming that there was videos available of the aliens and pictures of the actual alien creatures talked about in his documentary, and that would soon be released. And he's hyping all of that up, but none of that is in the documentary. There's no proof in the documentary other than witness testimony from 26 years ago. So I asked James Fox a question. I get banned. Then what happens? And I also asked James Fox for interviews. No interview. Then what happens? He goes to Ryan Sprague and does an interview because he knows Ryan Sprague won't ask him the hard, real questions that we ask here. The questions that people really want answered. The questions that are relevant. If you're going to hype up a documentary release with some pie in the sky, maybe the films of these aliens is going to get released soon, and you got Jaime Maussan hyping it up. And what did Ryan Sprague do during that interview? He sat there and gave him the UFO circle jerk, because that's what Ryan Sprague's job is. His job is to be an echo chamber for the UFO celebrities to help them sell their garbage. And haven't looked into her deeply enough, so I won't make any claims like that about Chrissy Newton. But I believe that, again, so we have James Fox. I'm the one asking real questions, and everybody else is doing the softball circle jerk. You know, it's a game. It's a big club, and I ain't in it. And in order to get the interview, they have to know that you're going to just help them sell their bullshit. You're not going to challenge them. You're not going to ask them hard questions. You're just going to help them advertise their garbage that they're selling. That's what Ryan Sprague does. So then Garry Nolan, I ask a real question to, get blocked on Twitter. I can't get an interview with Garry Nolan. He won't even answer an email question from me. And by the way, these are valid, real, and important questions that he thinks he's too good to answer. So he won't even answer a question through email to me, but he's going to do an interview with Chrissy Newton. Is Chrissy Newton going to ask him these important questions? Or is she going to do the softball circle jerk? Is she just going to be there to help him tell more fake stories, right? Tell more stories, right? Maybe get some more documentary deals where he can use Stanford University resources to help UFO grifters sell fake stories, right? Or is Chrissy Newton going to do the right thing, the moral and ethical thing, and ask the real questions? I don't know when the interview is. I don't know if it's even going to happen now. We'll see. And then I will report on it. So I will send this Chrissy Newton tonight's show, and, the debrief and her can decide if they're going to be real journalists or if they're going to be facilitators of UFO grifters. What are they going to do here? They can decide. All right, friends. So that will conclude tonight's presentation. I think that I shared all that I had. Let me just check in here. Oh, and I'm getting many messages about the story Stephen Greenstreet shared about the Chinese drones. We're going to do a separate show on that. All right. Yeah, we got everything. But I will say this. I reserve the right to change my mind and start contacting the university for answers. So, oh, wait, there is one more thing. There is one more thing. 1 second here. I have one more thing to share that is also very problematic from an ethics standpoint for Stanford University. Apparently, there is this person, and his name is Marek VR on Twitter, M. Von Ren, and he apparently works for Stanford University. And by the way, this person spends all their time every day attacking, arguing, and some would say slandering, I guess, Mick West, who is a UFO skeptic. So a question that I would have for Stanford University is, why is a Stanford University employee spending so much time on Twitter every day arguing with a UFO skeptic? And also, I'm curious if this Marek VR is using Stanford University equipment and resources to produce these analysis content where he's arguing that Mick West is so wrong. He's producing these very, some would say, advanced simulations and computer animations and things. So I'm wondering if he is using, if he, like, apparently, like Dr. Nolan, is also using Stanford University equipment, time, and resources to, I don't know, inject himself in the UFO community. He's one of the true believers. So I asked, I'm doing a story tonight about Garry Nolan and Stanford University. Can you tell me what you do at Stanford University, and are you using university computers to produce the content you post on Twitter? And I got no reply whatsoever. But we can see, if we look at this person's Twitter, that they spend a ridiculous amount of time on Twitter arguing with Stephen, with many people, most notably Mick West. And we can show some of the videos that he produces. Here he is. This is a remarkable demonstration of how questionable debunkers' theories for the gimbal and FLIR UAP videos are. That probably didn't. Anyway, he is constantly producing content on his Twitter that argues against UFO skepticism, constantly hyping up that things are aliens and Mick West is wrong. And, he spends an inordinate amount of time really arguing with Mick West, who is a UFO skeptic. And one might ask themselves, why then, now we've got two Stanford University employees who have injected themselves into the UFO community and are very rah-rah pro-alien, right? And are, I don't know, attacking skeptics. It just does not make any sense. And I saw that there was some of the stuff that he produces is, high quality videos. Look, there's computer animations and things that he produces to try to argue with the UFO skeptics that it's aliens. Yeah, Mick West is retired and spends his days claiming that fighter pilots are incompetent. So, this is bizarre. Why is Stanford University okay with, now we have two employees of theirs, and it's a valid question for this person too. Are you using university computers to produce this content that you're posting on Twitter, arguing with Mick West all day? And what's your job at Stanford University that you got all day to argue and make fun of Mick West, right? And are you in violation of the ethics codes at Stanford University? And I cannot confirm this, but I'm including it in tonight's broadcast anyway. I have it from a reliable source that this person, Marek VR, is on the compliance or ethics board and is a big cheerleader for Garry Nolan. That's right. This person who spends an inordinate amount of time arguing with Mick West and producing all kinds of content about how Mick West is so wrong in his debunks, who works for Stanford University, likely using Stanford University computers and equipment to produce this stuff, is also on the ethics board at Stanford University and is a big cheerleader for Garry Nolan. So if I go to Stanford University and I go to their ethics board and ask some questions, if this is true, I'm going to ask that this person recuse themselves from any decision making or any answering of questions about whether, he can't be involved here, because apparently he's a huge cheerleader for Garry Nolan and he's on the ethics board. That's what I was told. I'm not sure if that is correct. I've asked. And in fact, I will send him a message asking him on Twitter if he's on the Stanford University Board of Ethics or not. But I'm including it in that piece because it is a good possibility based on the reliability of the source I had who told me that. But we were rushed to broadcast tonight, so I apologize for not having multiple sources to confirm that piece of information we are including. Okay, so I want to thank everybody for joining us. And as is usually the case, you guys know that I get wrapped up in these presentations, and then I lose myself in the broadcast here. So there's some things we need to do. For those unaware, we're a viewer-supported show, and we thank every single person that contributes anything to the show. There is a money button down there. It's a great way to support the show. So we have a few kind and generous benefactors, which we will call out and thank. We thank every single person that sends a super chat, buys a super sticker, sends a PayPal pledge, Cash App, becomes a member, becomes a Patreon supporter. We shout you out and thank you for helping us to do the good work. We are not UFO circle jerkers here. We do not exist by licking the buttholes of UFO celebrities and letting them get a softball on all of this stuff. We ask the hard questions. We do the real work here. And we are a viewer-supported show. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to remind our listeners and our viewers. Remember, we have the audio podcast and you guys watching the live video stream. I am going to remind everyone, 1 second here. Let me see. Yes. Okay, so we're going to remind you how it is that you can help us. We have a Patreon. You can become a member here. There's a lot of ways to support good work. And we're a viewer-supported show. I modeled this show after PBS. When I was a child, my father liked documentaries, and he liked history and things like that. And back then, before cable, showing my age, the only place to get that stuff was on PBS. So every year when they did the telethon, my dad would send whatever he could afford in because he really enjoyed the content that PBS produced. I like that model, being a viewer-supported show. It also informs you if you're doing good work, and we must be, because if you're doing good work, people will support you. And we have kind and generous benefactors from all over the world throwing a couple of bucks in our hat and helping us to do this good work. I'm going to thank each and every one of you for your support and let everybody know how you can support our show here. Wrong one. I'm sorry. I played the wrong bumper. I'm sorry. I played the UFO report bumper. It's a live show, friends. You got to roll with the punches. 1 second. And in my defense, I am visually impaired. I'll use the blind excuse when I screw up like that. No, I got the right one. So let me play that and let you friends all over the world know how you can really be supportive of the show.
Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal, or Cash App.
Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month, you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Campion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members-only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truth Seekers. Thank you for your generosity and support.
Okay, so we are back, and I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to thank you kind and generous benefactors. And if you are feeling generous, the money button down there is there to help you support us, and we will read every single super chat. Let's read some super chats. We have Wreaking Havoc 215 with a kind and generous $1.99 says, respect the work you put in. Greg O'Brien with a kind and generous $2 and says, thanks for your hard work. Happy Thanksgiving. And we thank all of you. So going from here on in, I will put on the screen and read every other. If any more come in, we read every single one. Thank you all for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. Let's take some comments and questions from the live chat. If you have comments or questions for me that you want me to share on the screen and address, please do put them in all capital letters. Some of you know that I'm visually impaired. That's the reason for the weird shades. And it really does help me to know that you want me to share it. If you put it in all capital letters, it makes it easier for me to identify. So Rael Averos says, I don't know what the truth is, but those doing the storytelling sure seem to be full of it. I agree with you. And we have, I don't even know how to say that. Body Diddly D says, lies, another lying con man. Zorg says, Michael Moran. Yeah, I've looked into him, and I'm going to continue to do that, Zorg. But thank you. And we have Jimbo says, great stream, kickback, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. If you don't see you tomorrow. And remember, no butthole licking. Yeah. Yeah, and for those unaware, tomorrow night we should be doing another live broadcast, even though it's Thanksgiving. I'm going to talk to my wife, but I think we're eating early, like 3 or 4. And then I'm going to take a turkey nap. I'm going to go into my turkey-induced coma for an hour or 2, and then I'll be good to broadcast. And tomorrow night, we're just doing a panel show. So it's open mic, open topics. Anybody can join the show or call into the show tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I may push that back if my turkey coma runs long, so I reserve that right. Amy Collins, there is no way the university does not know about Nolan's activities. University politics and or big money is protecting him. Could be. I mean, I think this is a big story. Why is he using all this university equipment to participate in what some people may call UFO grifts or alien cons? It's a valid question. I mean, everybody, all of us will view the world through a prism of their own experience. And I worked at a university, and at least where I worked, none of this would have flied. Like none of this. The professors would not have been able to do stuff like this with university equipment and using the university to help sell these fake alien stories. It would not have it would not have worked. But that was the university where I worked. According to the ethics code that we read, this is problematic, but who knows? And you're right. If he's got buddies and friends on the ethics board, they could just look the other way, or whatever. Zorg says John Davies deserves a follow-up show. Chris Bledsoe also. I'm looking into the Bledsoes, and we will have a follow-up show on the Bledsoes. John Davies, I don't think he's worthy of my airtime. He went off and had a hissy fit and claimed that he was going to sue me and send the police. And, I just thought it was kind of ridiculous because I think he lives in England. So I'm still waiting for the English police, the bobbies, to arrive and arrest me for a YouTube video that John Davies didn't like. It's kind of ridiculous. I think John Davies is a clout-chasing idiot. Quite honestly, he's got superpowers. Did you know that? John Davies has all kinds of superpowers that he got from aliens. I'm not going to get into an argument about credibility with a guy that's running around telling people he got superpowers. He got superpowers from the aliens, man. Yeah, B. Baker reminding people, please don't swear. The YouTube algorithm will ding us for it. Yes, the YouTube algorithm doesn't like that. It wants things to be advertiser friendly. And if advertisers come in and they see there's people cursing up a storm in the live chat, they don't like that. They don't want their ads on shows like that. So we did put the filter on, right? Ken Ami is here and says, super free energy powers. Ken Ami, I apologize. I did get your message. I meant to reply to you. It's been a busy, busy time for me, but I'll get back to you and we'll do that project that you wanted to do. Ken Ami, former guest. He is a gentleman and a scholar, an expert on all things esoteric. Has done an incredible amount of writing books and research into aliens, demons, angels, and more. And we're going to be having him back as a guest very soon. I'll get back to you, Ken Ami. Thank you for being here because that reminded me. He says, no worries and no Harrys. Good. Zorg thinks he's low-key manipulating Ross. Yeah, I've heard John Davies is Ross Coulthart's researcher or something like that, which would kind of explain why Ross Coulthart is doing such terrible work, because he's got a guy with alien superpowers doing his research for him. It's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous. Zork says chocolate milk cheers. Well, thank you. And my poor wife now has anxiety over the chocolate milk situation because I will drink a half a gallon of chocolate milk before I go to bed. Well, not a half gallon. I don't know. I drink 2 big glasses. She thinks it's too much. But I have been, since quitting drinking, I have not had a drink in 173 days, I think. Yeah. I haven't had a drink in 173 days. So I'm having insomnia. And the one thing that seems to help is drinking a bunch of chocolate milk right before I go to bed. Something about that milk. Maybe it's like a baby thing. I don't know. But my poor wife has had anxiety. Like she's coming home from work and I'm like, oh, I got to get the chocolate milk. We're out of chocolate milk. Do not say buck don't say certain words, right? Rayo Avaros says Ross seems pretty easy to manipulate, actually. Well, according to him, it's News 7's fault that those promos had straight lies in them. But considering the fact that it's him reading the promo material, they had to give him a script and say, here, read this. And then they made those lying promos. Somebody with ethics or morality would have said, I'm not doing this. I'm not reading this. We don't have definitive proof of alien technology. Or I said it again. We don't have conclusive proof of alien technology. I'm not reading this. And you're not putting that in a promo because we don't have the proof yet. He didn't do that. He read it like a dummy. And then they lied to everyone to sell fake stories about aliens, with no proof when they're claiming they have conclusive proof of alien technology. It's great. Kelly Gregory is here, and welcome, Kelly Gregory. I like your avatar. It says, how can I find some aliens? I need superpowers. Well, what you got to do is you got to hang out with UFO people, because there's a lot of UFO people that also have superpowers. This is what I'm finding out in my study of the UFO community. I would say 1 in 10. 1 in 10 UFO people has superpowers. I don't. So there's got to be somebody. We have, 100 something people in our live chat. So there's probably 10 people with no, not here. But if you go into one of those believer streams where it's all like, oh yeah, the aliens are definitely here, and there's probably 1 in 10 of those people have alien superpowers or superpowers in some way. And by the way, in regard to last night's story, if you didn't catch it, it was Elizabeth April, psychic, New Age psychic, or New Age scammer. I looked into this company today called LifeWatch, which sells these patches that are supposed to reverse your aging and give you increased energy and cure symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety and depression, snake oil. And boy, that company has a long and sordid history of being scammy. And we're going to do a follow-up story, not so much about Elizabeth April, the fake psychic, but more so about LifeWatch, which is, in my opinion, it's a scam company. You can't promise people that you're selling them a product that will reverse aging without proof of those claims. And they are doing it. They're doing it. So I'm going to contact the FDA and one of their media relations people, have them review the claims being made by LifeWatch, and then give me something in writing. Is this legal? And if not, why are you as the FDA not doing something to make them stop scamming people? I think that's a bigger story than a fake psychic. But the fact that she's supposed to be a love and light psychic, and it's just funny to me. This girl has superpowers. She's in touch with aliens. She's selling messages from aliens for $11.11. Her alien messages are on sale because Christmas is coming. So she put the alien messages she sells on sale. She's also selling this snake oil where they're claiming you could put a patch on yourself and reverse your aging. It is crazy. So we're going to follow up on that story. Bobby Broadway is here, and good to see you. Somebody asked me about you today. Good to see you here. Okay, Bobby Broadway says, as crappy as it is, I guess I support their right to lie as an act about UFO to make money because it is a free country. But they better be able to take criticism. This show is important. Well, thank you, Bobby Broadway. I think that a lot of the UFO people are doing what can only be considered a form of consumer fraud. If you're telling people this is a true story and then it turns out it's 100% fake, I don't think that should be either permissible or legal. But I think it's a gray area, and law enforcement is a little busy and don't have time to enforce, to do something about these UFO grifters running around conning people constantly. The best example I can give is Linda Moulton Howe putting out pictures that are 100% provably artist-created pictures, and she claims that they're real pictures of aliens, and then it's quickly proven that they're not, but by then, she's already made the money. And you see how this stuff works. The Cosmic Con works like that. We saw tonight that Garry Nolan and Stephen Greer made this documentary. Well, Greer made the documentary. Nolan participated. They made more than $1 million. And then they drop the proof that thing wasn't an alien. And then they shuffle off and hope everybody forgets while they keep all the money. Same thing with Linda Moulton Howe. She puts out these stories. These are real pictures of aliens. She collects all the money. Then people like me do the real work and find out where the pictures came from, find out they're artist-created images and they're fake and they have nothing to do with real aliens, and no, they're not real pictures of aliens. By then, she has already made her money. She shuffles off and hopes everybody forgets and then comes back with fake stories. And also the repeat, the cosmic con, these people all learn that if a con worked for one person, they do it too. That's why there's at least 3 different UFO people that ran or are currently running free energy scams. We've got Dr. Stephen Greer ran a free energy, what I would consider a scam. We have Billy Carson ran a charity to create free energy, right? Never created anything. And David Wilcock. If they see that one of the other grifters does something that works, they all copy them. It's amazing. But the Cosmic Con and the Cosmic Con Shuffle, we see that Nolan, again, Ross Coulthart and Garry Nolan did this documentary. Garry Nolan participated. They promise everybody, I'm going to say it right this time, quote, conclusive proof of alien technology, all confirmed by this renowned scientist, unquote. And then they put out the piece, they collect all the money, and then they run off. And then everybody figures out, wait a minute, there's no proof here. There's no conclusive proof. There's no proof. There's nothing. They got nothing. And they said they did. And that's why I clicked on the video. The Cosmic Con Shuffle. It's amazing, Bobby. Chuck Bam says, drink the milk. Well, it's got to be better for you than a 12-pack or better. Sometimes I was 12-pack and a 6-pack of beer every day, right? Okay. Patty Wilhelm is here. Welcome, Patty. Good to see you. And Patty says, hey, Ken, hope you're doing well. Enjoyed your presentation on Truth Seekers. Ginger beer was my crutch when I quit. Good idea. I should try that out. Ray L. Avaros says, Bobby, yeah, I think they should be free to make money. However, manipulating the public or individuals is wrong and should be stopped. Yeah, I agree with you. Ross is a story monger, being diplomatic. Yeah. Zork says long exposure helicopter photos. You're talking about Jonathan Davies, right? Chuck Bam says, I'm the ambassador of Earth working with the Pleiadians. I am buying the quantum financial system, bringing the quantum financial system. Stranger things have happened, I suppose, right? Let's see here. Let me get caught up here. I am way behind. Oh, I see Amy WC for kind and generous $10 says, thanks for your work. Thank you for kindness, generosity, and support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. And let's see if we can't find our cash clown to thank you, right? Let's see if we can't. Yes, we can. Thank you all, especially Amy WC, for your kindness, generosity, and your support of the show, and for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Oh, that's weird. Sorry. Mystery. A little green friend of mine once said, when 900 years old you reach, look as good you will not. Yeah. Am I still muted? That clown kid has a fake nose. No, I don't think. Yeah. No, that's his real nose. 1 second. Pardon me. Okay, there we go. Yeah. It only was muted for a second there, but I always check in with the stream. Kelly is here. It says, I hear you. Good. So any more comments or questions for me, please put them all capital letters. Any more comments or questions for me, please put them in all capital letters. But now would be a good time to remind you that besides throwing money at us, there's another way that you can help us. And that would be to like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos on your social media. It really, really does help us. Now is also a good time for me to remind you people listening in audio podcast land. First of all, we love and appreciate all you audio podcast listeners. I am blown away by how many downloads we're getting on the audio podcast every day. But you're missing half the fun. So if you're listening on the audio podcast, we love and appreciate you there. But we would much prefer if you came on over here to YouTube. So go on over to YouTube and find us. Go to youtube.com, hit the search tool, the little magnifying glass, and put in Truth Seekers, one word. There you'll see a strange guy with sunglasses. That would be me. Go to that channel, smash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and you too will know when we're doing a live show, and come and be a part of it. You friends over in audio podcast land are most welcome. Every week I see a few of you show up and tell me in the live chat. I listen on, I get these messages and I love getting them, by the way. I love hearing in the live chat. I love hearing from you. All over, I love hearing from you. But I especially love when somebody will come to the live chat and say, hey, I am listening to you on Spreaker or Apple Podcasts or Amazon or, Podchaser or wherever, and say, hey, you told me to come over, right, to the live show, and I did. And we get people coming into live chat every week. Last week, I'm sure somebody said they came from iHeartRadio. They listen on iHeartRadio. Somebody said they come from Spotify, by the way, in the audio podcast. Truth Seekers is now available on Spreaker Podcast Player, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, and GeoSavin. So wherever you're listening in the audio podcast land, please do come on over to YouTube, Truth Seekers in the search bar, one word, look for the guy with sunglasses, go there, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and YouTube can come here and be a part of our live tapings, our live broadcasts for the podcast, and our interactive live chats. You are most welcome, right? All right, let's see. Chuck be on defensive tonight. I already got hit. I'm not sure what that's about. Who is a good person to talk to about Garry Nolan's work? Oh, MJ Benias. I didn't know that. This is crazy. Garry Nolan studied no people of color. Spoiler alert, it's all white people. I've never heard that. Chuck says audio is good for driving. Actually, that's why for those of you that don't know, I used to do just an audio podcast, a different show. Well, it was very similar, but it was called The Midnight Hour. And then we moved to this live video format. But a lot of people started asking me for the audio podcast because they drive for a living and they get in trouble if they get caught watching a video, but they're allowed to listen to audio podcasts. So we put it up, and I'm blown away. We're getting hundreds and hundreds of downloads every day. I can't believe that, because my old audio podcast, I was like a voice in the wind, That's what I always felt like. I felt like nobody was listening. I felt like I was just some voice in the wind and nobody was listening. But it's amazing the combination of the two. I think that's what did it. The combination of all of these streaming locations, YouTube and everything else, and the audio podcast together, we're getting a great deal more listeners. And I am thankful to have all of you here. I was thinking about every year, of course, when it's Thanksgiving, you start thinking about what you're thankful for. I am most thankful for my lovely wife, my incredible 2 boys that are 6 and 10 now, and right after that, I am thankful for all of you and the ability to do this show. It's a dream come true for me, and thank you for helping make the dream real. B. Baker says Paranormal Radio app is good to sign up for, but I think you have to pay for a channel. Well, look, B. Baker, why don't you call me after the show, because I'd be interested in that, and if it's not too expensive, I would be happy. Amy Collins is asking me, have you signed on to TalkStream Live? No, and I'm not sure. It's all looking into more audio podcast destinations is on my list. So I will add TalkStream Live. I love talk radio. I grew up listening, or TalkStream Live now. It's not radio, but I grew up. One of the reasons I'm here is because I grew up addicted to talk radio. In Philadelphia, there was a station called 96.5 WWDB, the talk station. And it was talk radio all day, all night. And I was often the victim of insomnia, so I would stay up late at night and listen to talk radio. And I grew up listening to the talk radio. It's probably one of the reasons why I am here. Used to love it. I would take a little Walkman or radio everywhere with me and would always be listening to talk radio. I mean, I loved music too, but sometimes I'd listen to albums, but oftentimes I'd listen to talk radio. Mr. Ian says UK crew in the place. And also, Mr. Ian is working on a VR environment for Truth Seekers. Soon you'll be able to go and watch Truth Seekers with other people in a Truth Seekers lounge in a virtual reality world. That's amazing. Make it so, Mr. Ian. Use your magic technological boomstick, right? Ed Monster is here and says, happy Thanksgiving to all of us from the UK. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you. Much, much appreciated. I'm glad to see that you're all here. Oh, man, I remember that. Bobby Broadway says, back to white trash in 2 weeks it took. After finally retiring the band van and getting this new Fiesta, I miss mine, Bobby Broadway. I had this old purple 1982 Ford Econoline van that was it was a conversion van, so it had the added top and the rugs, and it was so ugly when I got it. That was like brown and tan, so we painted the whole thing purple and ripped the rugs out and put purple rugs in. It was purple and black. We put a bunch of chrome skulls on it and stuff. It was really great. And Bobby, we called it the Misery Machine, you know, after the Mystery Machine on Scooby-Doo. But ours was the Misery Machine. And boy, I used to go on long trips with that. We would drive all over, 6-hour drives, 8-hour drive. Anywhere that was within an 8-hour drive, my band would agree to play, you know, if they at least covered and give us enough money to cover the gas and stuff, right? Sylvia is here and says, hello, insomnia here in Norway too, 5:05 a.m. Well, I'm glad that you could join us here and that I can help lull you to sleep, hopefully, right? James Pepper says, Pimp Mobile, absolutely, right? Amy Collins says, we had a station in Chicago that changed formats almost yearly, WDAI. They joked it stood for Development Identity. That's funny, yeah. Yeah, we had a radio station in Philadelphia forever. It was 94.1. What was WYSP, I think. And I grew up listening to that. And now it's a sports talk radio. Yeah, it was. When it was a rock radio station, it was still 94 WYSP, but then they changed to 94 WIP sports radio. And I'm not a sports guy, so I never listened to that station again when they changed. But we were all sad to see that station go because all of us, you know, as kids and whatever, we grew up listening to rock radio. We had 2 stations, 93 and 94, which is kind of weird, right? Well, maybe more than 2 stations, but the other ones played oldies, and everybody now seems to segment. Like, we play 70s all the time, 70s all night, all day, and 80s, 90s, the 90s hits and beyond. Amy Collins, Chuck Bam says, demand more diversity, equity, and inclusion on UFOs. Yeah, I think that. And Sylvia, my pleasure. I'm glad that you're here with us. You know what, Sylvia, you said you were from Norway. I got a kick out of that. It's just amazing to me that with this webcam and this microphone and this technology allows me to reach my voice across the entire world and touch someone. That sounded bad, Sylvia. I mean, you know what I mean. I'm able to touch your life, at least. I'm able to enter your little world there. And then it makes me wonder about the listeners all across the world and where they're at and what they're doing while they're listening and what their houses are like or their neighborhoods look like. And just amazing to me that my voice and my image can be beamed across the world with this technology. So when I hear somebody from across the world is here, it makes me happy. Thank you for being here. You are most welcome, Sylvia. Okay. I was a tank, B. Baker says. Oh, man, O'Connell, those things were well made. You're absolutely right. They were tanks, right? B. Baker says, my mom and stepdad drove us from Washington, Montana in an Econoline. We saw a UFO on the way, the whole family. Thought it was a helicopter shining down a spotlight for a couple of minutes. That's weird. Sylvia says, I know. It's amazing. It is amazing. It's amazing to me, especially because, sometimes somebody from Mexico will chime in, or somebody from Australia or somebody from Tasmania once said, hey, hello from Tasmania. And I'm like, that is bizarro. It's strange to me. Like, wow, my voice and my image is in Tasmania right now. It's amazing. That's why I love this so much. It's one of the things I love so much is being able to, be all across the world, right? And now we have this more powerful distribution network. By the way, I want to thank Julian Chandra and his excellent people at Odyssey. For those unaware, Odyssey is an alternate video platform, a competitor, some might say, to YouTube, which is popping up, which is just really, I have such high hopes for Odyssey. I'm a big fan of Odyssey. So we want to thank Julian Chandra, the CEO of Odyssey. And we also want to thank at Odyssey Help on Twitter. Julian has, excellent technical support people. And we were having an issue where our live stream would live stream on Odyssey, but then it wouldn't be there when we were done the stream. So the Odyssey Help people walked me through exactly how to fix the technical issue that we're having. I'm going to do it directly after the show finishes broadcast tonight. And I want to thank Odyssey at Odyssey Help. And I want to thank Julian Chandra, the CEO of Odyssey, because if I was a betting person, I would bet that Odyssey is going to be huge. Give it a few years, friends. It's going to be huge. They're doing a great job over there at Odyssey. We also want to thank our new distribution platform and partners, Rumble, who are also doing a great job. I'm just personally glad to see that alternatives to the mainstream platforms are being developed and are being made available. And we have this new distribution platform up, and right now we're broadcasting to 2 separate places on Facebook, both my personal page. You can follow me on Facebook, just my name, Stephen Cambion, or look for the Truth Seekers page on Facebook. We're broadcasting to both of those Facebook pages right at the moment. Also YouTube, also Twitch, Twitter, Odyssey, and Rumble all at once. Very powerful technology allowing us to be in 8 different streaming destinations all at once. Wow, that's interesting. I wasn't aware, but on Twitch, apparently you have to say, okay, I'm an adult before the stream will play, but that's okay. Just checking in with Twitch. I see we have some viewers over at Twitch. I see we have viewers at Rumble and viewers at Odyssey. And of course, there's people watching on our usual, or, you know, the platforms we began with, which is Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. But we welcome all of our new friends. It's so nice to check in on the stream over at Twitch and see some people watching there. I'm checking into the stream at Odyssey and see some people watching there, and Rumble as well. New friends, welcome new friends. James the Fifth, with a kind and generous $4.99 super chat, says, "Do you play a musical instrument? And we want to hear you play it." Ha! There's some music of mine. There's some music of mine on the channel here. In a previous life, I was in many rock bands and other bands, and then I did a solo project for many years. I'm a songwriter, or was. I ran a commercial recording studio, and I play piano. Keyboards is really my preference. I like synthesizers. Early growing up, I realized that if I learned to play the piano through the power of synthesizers and keyboards, it was like being able to play everything, because at that time, a lot of workstations were becoming available that had really realistic orchestra sounds. And I was blown away, like, wow, if I learn to play this piano really well, then I can make songs, and the songs can have cellos and violins and tubas and organs, because this synthesizer can make all those sounds. So I got very interested in that. Years later, when I would join rock bands, I was determined that I was going to learn to play guitar. And I can, and I do, but I'm terrible. And all I can play as far as guitar goes is what's called drop D. I'm terrible at regular chords, so I use the cheat that a lot of rock guys use, drop D. Drop D is when you tune down one of the strings, and then you don't have to make complicated finger chords. You just put your whole finger across the fret, right? Alien Scientist wants to know, did you catch my Bob Lazar song tonight? No, I didn't. But if you're a moderator, you could put a link in the live chat and give me a timestamp, and I'd be happy to play it. That's pretty interesting. Tonight we were covering Garry P. Nolan, Jeremy, and you might be interested to watch some of this, because, oh, this is a good story. It would appear that Garry Nolan is using university resources and personnel, and that's against the university code of ethics. And so essentially, tonight we covered how he's using Stanford University personnel and labs and equipment to help UFO grifters sell fake stories about aliens and UFOs. And we showed the code of ethics for Stanford that says you can't use university equipment or university personnel. It was a good story, I thought, tonight. He did a stream with Brian Keating. Yeah, and he's going to do a UFO circle jerk, apparently, with Chrissy Newton from the Debrief, right? Mm-hmm. Spooky says, get good, Stephen, play Freebird. By the way, I want to thank Spooky for the excellent artwork. Every once in a while, Spooky always does good artwork, but every once in a while I get one and I go, this is amazing. And you know what? I'm going to share it because it's so funny, because the one thing that she put on there that I forgot to address, I totally forgot to address something that Spooky directly addressed on my am I trolling? Oh, did I? The title is bad. Is the title bad? One second. Let me check something. Oh, it's 2 R's. All right. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, I screwed that up. Names are important. So we thank you, Spooky, for letting me know. I'm sorry. I'm just now getting your message. I grew up with the Garry, and it's 1 R, the Garry that I grew up with. I got to stop making assumptions like that. I didn't even think to look to make sure that I was spelling it right. Well, which way is it? It's Garry. Oh, so you updated the thumbnail. Okay. All right. I'll update it after the broadcast. All right. In 1 second, I have to get over to the live chat to get that. It won't let me get it from here. What is the Jeremy, do you play the song? Because it just started right in the beginning of the video. So it's a little difficult to oh, wait a minute, I got it. I see you picking up a guitar. All right, we'll get it. All right, we're gonna have Jeremy Rise be a surprise musical guest. Okay, 1 second. We're going to share this. This is probably good. Yeah, I've never heard Garry spelled Garry in my life. It's always been Gary. So we spelled it wrong. We apologize to Mr. Nolan, and I am I've corrected the text, and I will correct the thumbnail. Yeah, and let me one thing at a time here. Hit like if you are blocked by Garry Nolan. 1 second. All right, we have the corrected one now. We have the corrected one. So one thing that I forgot to mention is that Garry Nolan blocks everybody on Twitter that asks him real questions. He doesn't like real questions. I mentioned the artwork of Spooky being so good today. Maybe it's just me, but I thought, what a fantastic job. Dr. Garry Nolan refuses to answer ethics questions, and here he is laser eye blasting my email away. And Spooky wrote, hit like if he blocked you on Twitter, because this guy is like notorious. He is notorious for blocking everyone on Twitter. I'm sorry, my background is all wonky. This guy is notorious for blocking everyone. He blocks everyone on Twitter. Like, come on, man. You can't withstand questions, but you're going to bring us proof of alien visitation on Earth? I call BS on this guy. Now, I think he's an intellectual weakling. Like, don't make ridiculous statements if you don't want people to ask questions, you know? Don't be involved with UFO grifters like Stephen Greer and Ross Coulthart if you don't want people to ask questions. Don't help those guys make money literally lying to the public, you know? All right. And we have a surprise musical guest. Let me see if we can find this here. And I apologize for the bad spelling. Names are important, and I learned this lesson so many times, but I should check the name before we, go. But in my defense, has anybody else ever heard of Garry spelled with 2 R's? Because I never have. Never in my life. It's always been Gary, every Garry I've ever known. And I've known a bunch of Garys. All right. And we have a surprise musical guest. It's Jeremy Rise singing his Bob Lazar song.
Well, there you have it. Jeremy Corbell. So, Bob Lazar, he built a hydrogen car. Lithium hydrogen storage tanks from a cyclotron in his yard. Oh, Bob Lazar became a UFO rock star with a newsie in his glove box when he parked outside that bar. Dynamite, he's got chemicals all night. At UnitedNuclear.com, you can order it right on site. Oh, need some thallium? Do you wanna kill someone? Old Bob will connect you, and then the FBI detects you. You can run and tell Corbell it was the 115. Yeah, that foolish man will believe most anything. And even though he's got disclosure with that 115, well, he just sits on it and he doesn't do a thing. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh. Hey, why the hell?
Jeremy's like yelling, why would you just sit on 115 if you had proof? Why wouldn't you do something with it, right? What happened to it? That's funny, Jeremy. I like that. If you want to kill someone, just order it from Bob Lazar. Just order the thallium. And Jeremy, I always forget if it's thallium or thorium, but now because of your song, I will remember it forever. I am an ear learner. If I hear something, I remember it. I've always struggled with whether it was thorium or thallium. It's thallium, right? That's great. Great song, right? You ought to do like a 3 or 4 minute version of it, and I will play it. I promise you, if you do it again, do it a little longer. Write a second verse. That's funny. Mr. Ian could separate the vocal track and do a dubstep mix. Yeah, definitely thallium. Yeah, I always get those two confused. And every time I say it, I'm pissed off at myself for not remembering which way it's supposed to be, Jeremy. You know, like every time I have to say that or tell somebody about that, I go, or talk about it on the show, I go, is it thorium or it's either thorium or now I'll remember. It's thallium. Thank you for correcting me. I will probably never forget again. And I've been forgetting whether it's thorium or thallium for 2 years now. Every time I bring it up and have to talk about it, I forget. Yeah, you're right. Thorium is the radioactive fuel they use in thorium reactors. Well, not all of us have brains as big as you and can keep all of this physics stuff straight, right? And Jeremy, I don't know if you're aware, but I did sort of make fun of Garry Nolan because I said, why is he running around on the internet and using university resources to run around on the internet and play alien scientist? We already got one, a really good one. His name is Jeremy Rise. So Garry Nolan's going to hear all about you, Jeremy. We already have an alien scientist, and that's the alien scientist, Jeremy Rise. You know, why is Garry Nolan running around trying to be the alien scientist, right? Doing all this analysis work, right? Chuck Bam says 115 was just the next one on the table. Yeah, I think it was maybe there was 113 at the time, but not 114 or 15. And it was as Jeremy Rise, who's a real physicist, not like Bob Lazar, who's a fake convicted pimp, fake scientist. Jeremy Rise is a real scientist with a real physics degree, has pointed out that people have predicted the appearance or discovery of element 115 since the early 1970s, at least. I have a chemistry book from the 1970s that predicts it and even lists it on the periodic table. So these people who give Bob Lazar credit for somehow discovering element 115 or knowing about it before it even existed, they're totally wrong. He just read about it in a science magazine or in a chemistry book, right? Bobby Broadway says, I saw a short film on the small thorium stations, I think. Yeah, I think that I have as well. That's why I get those two confused, because they're similar. They're both sort of radioactive and they're sciencey, physicsy stuff. And I get those things mixed up and confused. B. Baker encouraging alien scientists to do more songs. And James V says, awesome. Ghost Rider says, awesome. Yeah. And alien scientists, yeah. Mr. Ian says he may record and auto-tune it. Don't do that. It's fine how it is. Auto-tune makes everybody sound like a robot. I don't like auto-tune, right? I don't like auto-tune one bit, right? Nope. It sounds like a robot, right? Chuck Bam says, I predict 116 next. They might already have done that. You might have to go up to 117. I haven't checked in on the periodic table discoveries lately, right? And B. Baker says, way less toxic residue, right? And Sylvia here in Norway, new friend, visiting us from Norway, says, nice and funny song. Yeah, chemistry, actually. Check out the Soy channel. There are some good chemistry channels here on YouTube which cover many different elements. I'm not going to sit and watch a chemistry channel, but you know what I did do recently, Jeremy, and I thought of you. I built a hydrogen generator, just the 2 bottles thing, one, the glass bottles, and I can't remember what the chemical is, but you put water in the 1 bottle and aluminum foil, and then the reaction agent is either a form of acid or I don't know. I got dry chemical that you could put in there, and then it has the tubes, and then it will make hydrogen come out. It puts it through a bubbler, and I'm sitting there in my workshop making this, and I thought Jeremy Rise would like this. And it makes hydrogen, not a huge amount, but it'll make hydrogen if you just want a few balloons to put up. It does a pretty good job. My neighbor wants to make the real hydrogen generator, with the metal plates and the electricity. I thought just keep it simple with the chemicals and the bottles, and one thing at a time. Like if I can make that one successfully, maybe I'll make the more advanced, like realer version, but I haven't gotten to it yet, right? Amy Collins says, seriously, I can hear when auto-tune is used within about 2 seconds of its use in a song. Blick. Yeah. I've never used it. I've recorded hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs. I have never used auto-tune ever. I refuse to do it. I just think it makes the voice sound artificial, and nobody sings 100% perfectly in key. Well, I don't want to say that. Maybe some experts with perfect pitch vocalists can do that, right? Alien Scientist says, I will record it in the studio and add some verses. I think it's a good song, and you could get a lot of views on YouTube. Just record the song and then make a video for it and put it up. A lot of people are interested in Bob Lazar, and that's a funny song, and people love funny songs. You will probably do pretty well, right? Bobby Broadway says, the Bob Hooker Ranch court case is what swayed me away from his trance. Yeah. I grew up on the mean streets of Philadelphia, Bobby, and I learned there that you'd never trust a pimp to tell you the truth about anything, right? And Bob Lazar is indeed a convicted pimp. Whether you like it or not, he's a convicted pimp. Yeah, I saw that, Bobby. Jacques Vallée is saying Bob was part of MK Ultra. I don't buy that. I think Bob Lazar is just a UFO grifter. That's what I think. Muriatic acid in a 2-liter bottle with hard plastic bottom. Just add aluminum foil and get away quick. Yeah, I'm not using muriatic acid. I'm using some, I can't remember the name of the chemical, but it's a dry chemical, and I put like 3 or 4 tablespoons in there, and I don't have to get away from it. I mean, I have to do it in a well-ventilated area, Jimbo, but it works, right? Sylvia says, I listen to the alien stories as fairy tales. A lot of people do. It just becomes a form of entertainment, right? Yeah, and as far as Bob Lazar, Alien Scientist is asking, did they brainwash him into thinking he had degrees from MIT and Caltech? Yeah, they must have brainwashed him into saying that he had degrees that don't exist, Alien Scientist. That's what I'm thinking. That's definitely what I'm thinking, right? And that's been the excuse. They chose him because he had a muddy past. Yeah, so that they could instantly discredit him if he told everybody the truth about those alien spaceships, right? He's not a real whistleblower. A real whistleblower has, you're right, it may be lie. I think it's lie. That's what I'm using. If I'll look at what the chemical is. I had to order it on eBay. I'll look at what the chemical is, Ghost Rider, and let you know. Kelly Gregory is here and says, good job, Steve. Great show. Well, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. And thank you for being here, Kelly. You are most welcome. I'm glad to see you. Love that profile picture. You look real happy in it. I was just talking to somebody else here about looking happy in their profile picture. I need a better profile picture because I just look strange, right? They brainwashed him to throw elbows in basketball with his Napoleon Dynamite tetherball skills. The Bob Lazar story is ridiculous, and I think Jeremy Corbell is becoming, Jeremy, alien scientist, might agree with me. I think Jeremy Corbell is becoming more and more and more ridiculous as time goes on. And I cannot believe that people put him on television as some kind of expert or authoritative figure on UFOs when he gets literally everything wrong. He got Bob Lazar wrong. He got Patient 17 wrong. He got Skinwalker Ranch wrong, right? He gets these pyramid UFOs and the bokeh effect wrong, and he's still arguing, no, that's not bokeh, that's not camera artifacts or aperture settings. That's really pyramid spaceships, Jeremy Rice. That's really pyramid-shaped spaceships. The government is lying to everybody, right? Chuck says, I think Bob Lazar is a government spook. What whistleblower gets government contracts after whistleblowing? It was an operation. Could be. I'm open to all possibilities, except for his story being 100% true. There's just too many. The guy's been caught lying so many times. You just can't, it's like, how many times do you let somebody in your life lie to you before you say, I'm not going to believe anything you say anymore? 2, 3, 5 lies? This guy's up to like, I could probably write a blog post with 20 things Bob Lazar lied about. At some point you say, I'm not going to believe anything this guy says, right? I'm just not going to believe it. Yeah, so we want to thank our chat room moderators. We want to thank Spooky for the excellent artwork. We want to thank fellow show host, Alien Scientist. Just search on YouTube for Alien Scientist. Go over and check out his channel. He does good work that I think you will enjoy. We want to thank him for stopping by and being in our live chat. We want to thank all you kind and generous benefactors, you Patreon supporters, you channel members, you super chatters, super sticker, and super thanks people, and you PayPal pledgers and Cash App senders. We want to thank all of you for your kind and generous donations and pledges that help us to continue doing this great work. So what can I say, friends? That's all we got for you tonight. I will say that I will be following up. I've decided I'm going to do it. I will be following up with a second part to this story after I get some comment or feedback from asking questions to actual Stanford University. And when we do that, I will be doing a second story about this and updating all of you. I want to thank Garry P. Nolan for refusing to answer my questions like a true intellectual weakling. Some university professor, some big brain is so intimidated by very simple questions like, how much were you paid to participate in this project? Did you use university equipment, labs, and resources in the participation of this equipment? How much were you compensated? He can't answer those questions, right? He is an arrogant man who thinks that he is above others and is somehow better than other people. Moral and ethical constraints constrain us all. All of us have rules that we have to abide by. So my questions for Stanford University are going to be, is he exempt from your ethics code? Can he just help people literally lie to the public with the use of Stanford University labs and, facilities and equipment, resources, and personnel? Or does he have to follow the rules like everybody else at your university? And what about this other guy who spends all day creating content on Twitter and arguing and belittling and attacking, and some would say slandering, UFO skeptic McWest? Does the university know that he's spending so much time of his day doing that every day? Do they condone that? We're going to have a lot of questions for Stanford University. But, my friends, that's a story for another time. We will be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with an open panel show. But I'm going to ask a few things. One, nobody gets naked. The fact that I have to say that will tell you everything you need to know about how wild these panel shows get. And number two, I'm going to ask that everybody please try to not curse. We're trying to do something new here so that the algorithm stops hating us for all the cursing. So please no cursing. I'm going to have a rule that if you curse, I'm going to kick you. And we'll hope that everybody, I'll put up a banner, please no cursing, at the bottom of the screen to remind everybody or something. I don't know. We got to try to get through a panel show without cursing. It's going to be mission impossible tomorrow, but you all are welcome to join. We're going to have open discussion, open panel. You too can join the show or call into the show and be a part of the show. Tomorrow night, we do this from time to time. So tomorrow night, you can not only listen to the show or watch the show, you can come here and be a part of it. You are all most welcome, as long as you're not naked and you try to not curse a lot, okay? So happy Thanksgiving to all, and to all good night. That's all we got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you, even you, Garry.
Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal, or Cash App. Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Cambion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members-only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truth Seekers. Thank you for your generosity and support.